this is a video for moms who are preparing to give birth. Um, the other week I talked to a mom who was very surprised at how quick the nurses were to help her baby feed in the first hour after birth. She wanted to breastfeed, but she just didn't realize that it kind of needed to happen that quickly. And so I wanted to go over why there is such a push to get your breast stimulated, but also get baby fed in the first hour, so that you're not surprised when this time comes for you. So this is the milk factories in the breast. So they're called lobules, or sometimes ducts more colloquially, ducts being where they drain. But these are where milk is made in the breast. So if you've ever had a friend who's breastfeeding and say, oh, I've got a plugged duct, that's what they're referring to. When we go into the breast, we'll notice that actually all women will have ample amounts of these factories. The difference between women with large breasts and small breasts is actually the amount of fatty tissue that they have in the breast. So if we go inside one of those factories, we get to see the factory workers, or the workers that actually make the milk, and they're called alveoli. And they're installed / activated after the birth of the baby. So you might be one of those moms that the very first sign you had of pregnancy was actually breast tenderness. I think it's fascinating that just as almost at the moment of conception, our body is already preparing to feed our babies. And so your factories have been growing all throughout your pregnancy. The next thing we need to do is put factory workers into the factories. And that's where the first hour comes in. So now we're going to go through two scenarios. One where a mom is able to have baby feed or expresses with her hands in the first hour after birth, and one where a mom isn't able to do that. So for our first mom who's able to harvest her milk, or if baby is up to feeding on their own, the very first time she feeds, she's going to activate and install many factory workers. And then every 2 to 3 hours after that, she is going to attempt to feed, but also do a bit of hand expression to get baby more food, because every time she does, it activates more factory workers. So this mom who isn't, maybe we could say, maybe she had to have an emergency C-section and wasn't able to hold her baby for quite some time and wasn't able to latch or try to breastfeed for many hours. When she goes to do her first feed, she's going to only be able to activate less of the factory workers. And then as she continues to feed, she'll be activating them. It's just less. And so it's a bigger bang for our buck for milk production the closer we can get factory workers going after birth. So when we can feed baby in the first hour, either with them actively latching or with using a spoon and getting some colostrum into them, what it does a massive activation of factory workers in the breast. And the sooner or the longer we get out from birth, the less factory workers we get to put in at every point. And so we know that probably one of the concerns that you might have is like, will I have enough milk for my baby? And one of the ways that we can really be protective about you having enough milk is to get messaging to the breast immediately after birth to activate factory workers, saying, hey, this baby is here, this baby needs to be fed, let's rock on with milk production. It can also be really helpful because sometimes when babies have had to have extra help to come into the world, such as if they've had to have a vacuum or maybe forceps, they can actually be pretty tired just from having to have that extra help. And so sometimes they're going to need a little bit of help to get going. And so knowing the process of hand expression, and then with our program, learning about it and practicing it in the last weeks of pregnancy for the women that can, makes it easier for everyone. We want moms to know about it going in so that they're not surprised when it happens to them, because surprise is not something we really want for you in your first hour postpartum. So follow along, learn more, moremilksooner.com, and as always, pleasure to chat with you.